Okay, so we're back today with the discussion on hinges. So for the lower and upper cabinets, we're doing visible hinges. These are the different than the style of hinges we used on the previous cabinet. So kind of give you a picture here what this looks like, and I'll show a close-up picture of this hinge. This is a visible hinge, so it will be visible from the front of the cabinet. It's a two-piece design. It's got an L bracket that sort of connects with the door, and it's got a flat piece that gets screwed into the face frame. So locating it up and down the cabinet is very easy. We'll just say 2 or 3 inches down from the top, 2 or 3 inches up from the bottom, and we're good. The challenge is locating it in and up on the face frame with at least this particular hinge I use. And I'll have a link to the hinge I'm using. So what we could do is, you would think, well, it probably just sits in the middle there, and if you do that, you can end up with some results where the door may not be at the certain depth you want it relative to the face frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to cheat a little bit here, and so I've got my 2 regular hinges, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate them 2 inches from the top of the opening. So I'm going to take my tape measure, and I'm going to measure in 2 inches from the opening of this face frame, draw a line, and then I'll draw in 2 inches from bottom down here. Okay, draw a line. And these lines will represent the top and the bottom of these hinges respectively. Alright, to make this easier, I've actually got a third hinge. And this third hinge is for inset face frame doors, but it's got an additional L bracket. So whereas this one has an L bracket and a straight face, this one has an L bracket and an L bracket. So the second L bracket actually wraps around the face frame. And what it does, the genius of this piece is it allows you to set that depth, where if I'm using this hinge, alright, you have to guess where that goes. And if you guess wrong, that's kind of tough luck on you, right? So what we're going to do is, so the first question is, well, why don't we just use this one for our cabinets? And the answer is because the way we're going to attach our face frames to our cabinet boxes won't allow for this extra bracket in the back. It just won't fit. And we're using 1.5 inch wide stiles. It's just not going to work. So if you had 2 or 3 inch stiles, maybe you can get away with doing this, but for this particular one we can't. So I would recommend picking one of these hinges up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that back bracket as a gauge, so as long as it's fit tight around that face frame, I'm good. So what I'm going to do is slide up this hinge right to where this mark is over here. Alright, and then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to trace these holes. Alright, I'm going to slide it back down. I'm going to meet the bottom of this hinge with this line, and I'm going to trace my holes again. And I'm just tracing these in the face frame. Putting these in the door will be much easier. Okay, so I've got my 2 holes here, 2 holes here. I'm going to get my safety glasses on. I'm going to take my cordless drill, and I'm going to drill. I'm just going to get a pilot hole started in each of these. And we're using, working with hardwood, like cherry here. It's important to pre-drill your holes so the wood doesn't split. I'm drilling these pilot holes right in the middle of where these hinges go. Alright, so now I'm ready to install my actual hinges. So I'm going to line these up. They actually share the same hole pattern. And what I'm actually noticing is, when I put these hinges on, they actually sit right on the edge of this face frame. This hinge, it goes as far down as you can put it. So when in doubt and you don't want to use the other one, you can try that approach. So now I'm going to take my face frame screws, push them into that hole a little bit. I'm going to use another drill. Oh, I have it on backwards. I have the drill set to reverse, so that's not going to help. Alright, let's try that again. Okay, get that one started. I'm not going to drive it all the way home until it's all the way in. Kids are upstairs crying. Phenomenal. Alright. Good, got that one in. We'll go ahead and do the second one. I'm going to go ahead and pause this and do the second one, and then we'll come back and install the doors. Okay, we got both hinges installed. Now we're going to install the hinges to the doors. I've got my door ready to drop in here. I've also got a block underneath the face frame. So this whole face frame is propped up, by the way. But I've got a block under the center portion, so when I drop this door in, it doesn't fall all the way in. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing, we've already fit the door up and put it back in the hole before, so we know it fits and it's got a good gap, but we haven't been able to put it back in since we had the hinge installed, so that's what we're doing now. Taking a look, making sure the gap looks good, pushing the door against the hinges, looks alright. So now we need to get the hinges attached to the door, and all that stuff's on the bottom. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to swing this face frame up while holding the door in place. Alright? And I'm going to use my shims again to basically block out any areas I think are a little too tight at the moment. I want to make sure that these clearances are set. So I'm going to use one. We mapped these out with two, but for now I just want to make sure it's not touching the bottom of the frame. And I got one on the other side here as well. Alright, so this door is set against, my gap is created. I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to trace out where these holes hit the hinges. This is a little tricky to do, but it's a little easier with the other type of hinges, but, you know, the invisible hinges, but these decorative hinges we're using here, this is just the easiest way I found to do this. Alright, so what I can do is then take these out, take these shims out, lower my face frame back down. Okay, down there. Alright, I can pop my door off. Yep. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to drill a couple of these out. You probably want to drill them all out when you're doing this, but got my screwdriver, got my impact wrench here, got screws ready to go. Line this first one up, get it started. Good. Get the next guy going. Now, if you mess up the alignment on these, I kind of like doing this one hole at a time, since I can always correct it by removing it and putting in the screw in the other hole. Alright? Alright, cool. Door is in, gap looks really good. I think we're done with this for now. I'm going to go ahead, get the other door installed, and then we're going to come back in the next section and build our cabinet boxes.